So as I said, if you've got questions, you can ask them now. And we do have a question at the front, and I think somebody's bringing a microphone right now.
For the investors now, speaking to the audience, what kind of, in the past, there'd be a lot of focus on life sciences. Now there's more interest in the digital media space. Can you guys talk specifically about what kind of companies you're looking at funding these days and the kind of funding? Originally you were with B5 Media and doing some of that kind of online publishing. But what's hot right now on, or what are you guys looking at these days?
Sure. So we're IT. So, but in IT, we incorporate digital media and gaming as well. And we look for, in general, for projects where there's a big vision. So assuming everything went right and you got luck and funding at the right time, you could build $1 billion company. But with a plan, an execution plan that allows you to go step by step with small amounts of capital, and where the first step is $500,000 to $1 million, that gets you to a viable business. So that's our model. Now, in terms of sectors, a lot of software as a service where you're going after a large vertical that is still enterprise software driven, and you're completely disrupting it. We're looking at models where you go into an industry where people are used to buy expensive software, but you turn the business model around by giving away the software, but maybe monetizing through recommendation or optimization or whatnot. We're in the process of setting up a next generation publisher for gaming, because as a VC, it's very difficult to invest in a gaming company. It's a hits-driven business, and you don't know until the product is out whether it's going to be a success or not. And even when it is a success, there's a curve. So we're looking at that. Adding social into all aspects of our worlds as individuals, but also in the business world is a big theme of ours. E-commerce, new ways of doing commerce, not just I go to a website, I buy something, but how to incorporate the e-commerce experience in other aspects, everything around mobile.
Mm-hmm. And just to add to that, I think a lot of the businesses and opportunities that we see, have a plan where you can actually measure their progress, whether it's early revenue or users or repeat visitors. Or I think it's very important when you're thinking about your opportunity to understand what are the milestones that I'm going to be building once I get some capital, and how do I actually understand whether what I'm doing is working or not. So much that what we're doing now can be measured, that it's important to as an investors, I think we take a very strong discipline to understand how well these companies are doing and what is the key measurement metric to use to understand what's working and what's not. But again, mobile, social, we're still seeing a lot of consumer applications and consumer-focused projects, but as well a lot of business ecosystem projects where you're taking old processes, old software, and replacing them with much lighter solutions and much user-friendly solutions, and so those types of opportunities are also exploding.
I think we're going. This is a major theme of ours. I think we're going to a world, and I don't know if it's going to happen in the next few years, but where people and enterprise will not spend money on software. So where you need to take it to the next level, and there's so much data available now. So if I'm talking on the business side, everything's now being measured in an enterprise, and the next generation there is how can you use that data to make decisions, and actually where systems make decisions for individuals as opposed to individuals looking at data and making decisions, and I think that's where so the traditional ways of making money, even software as a service, are models that are likely to have difficulties in the next 10 years or so.
So a question, just to follow up on your question. So what do investors want to see? So from a startup or an entrepreneur, do they want to see a finished product? Do they want to see customers and or revenue? Do they want to see like a well-detailed business plan? I mean, what are sort of the pieces of low-hanging fruit that they got to see before they'll...
I mean, it all depends on the stage that the investor invests in. So we're the first money in. So our approach is seed investing. So in theory, you don't need to have anything. I mean, our best performing company from our first fund, which did 100 million revenue last year, we funded 2 guys with a PowerPoint.
So who was that?
A company called Beyond the Rack, which is an e-commerce play.
Right.
So they had nothing, launched in 2009, and did 5, 50, and 100
Is anybody
million.
familiar with Beyond the Rack?
Yeah.
So why did you invest in them? What was it?
So there was a lot of debate at the partnership about that deal because they were copying a model that was already prevalent in Europe and in the U.S. There were already a few players in the U.S., but there was no one in Canada. And usually as a VC, you don't look at funding a local play. But in that case, e-commerce there was nothing here in Canada. And there was a competitive advantage to be the leader in the market for supply reasons. So the team was composed of 2 people initially. One was someone that came from the garment industry, so he had the relationships for supply. And the other was a database marketing guy, e-commerce guy. He worked for ice.com, which is an e-commerce diamond company. So good team for it. They added a third partner. We helped them fund the business. And, but that's what you do as a seed investor. You invest in people. So if people is the first thing. And then the second thing that we look for, and other angels may not look at that, but in our approach, the big vision. So, and sometimes we'll spend months with a company before investing to get an agreement on what the big vision is. And I don't know if it was you who mentioned that, or no, I think it was Salim that mentioned that early on this session, that entrepreneurs he feels have bigger vision. I would argue that a lot of entrepreneurs I meet for the first time don't have a big vision. And
Is that a Canadian thing?
I don't. Maybe it is.
I don't know, Americans.
Maybe it is. I mean, it's always been difficult in Canada to get access to capital to execute on the big vision, and I think that's changing, and I think that will change now because like it used to cost 10 years ago, it used to cost $5 million to get to validation of a business.
Right.
That was very hard to do. Now it costs $500,000 to $1 million, and once you get to validation, you can get access to capital. So. So those, I think, are the two key things that we look for.
Andrew, what about angel investors these days? Because they got killed in the .com period, and they disappeared. I mean, they got diluted, and they weren't treated very well by VCs, and they basically licked their wounds. Are they around? Are they back? And how do you connect? Or you're going to argue with me again.
Anyway, no, I'm not. So I don't want to take over. I'm the only one talking, but I have one example that. So I met with a large LP this week, actually last week, who his way of helping the angels, like he wants to help angels by co-investing with them.
Okay.
And that as they, his concept is to say the angels comes in, we invest with them, and then we'll be there to support the company. So if the angel can't put more money in, we'll do it.
Okay.
I don't think that's a problem anymore, and I'll explain to you why. A lot of the cram downs happened either in bad situations or in companies that had raised 20 million, 25 million, 30 million, which doesn't happen anymore. Right? Today, companies that raise the big rounds that you see, those are companies that are growing like over 100% a year, that are profitable, that are generating a lot of cash. There is no cram down scenario. Companies that will die early will have raised $1 million, $2 million. There's no cram down associated. Nobody does restarts anymore. They let these companies die because they haven't spent a lot of money. When you do a $5 million round as an investor, you've got 15 bets as a VC, and one of them doesn't get to validation with half of the first money or whatever. You want to save that company. When you've put in $500,000 in it, you kill it.
Right.
Right. So the cram down concept I haven't seen in the past 5 years.
Right, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
So are they around angels? Are they active?
I think they're still there. Personally, not seeing in as much quantity, but I think on the flip side, entrepreneurs are looking for something more than just money. I mean, you can do the friends and family round, but the actual outside angel investor, I think entrepreneurs are looking for more than just taking on some additional money. There is access to accelerators and incubators as well, and you get a lot more than just co-locating, saving on rent. You're getting the advice and helping to build out the infrastructure. So I think that they're still there, but part of the void is being filled by other sources.
We have angels in 80% of our rounds.
Okay.
We try to make a commitment to leave some room so they can participate in what we do.
So how do startups find angels? Because everyone talks about the angel, but they don't walk around with a little halo over their head saying, "I'm going to give you money," right? So where do you identify them? How do you find out where they are, and so you can start to win them over?
Typically, it's from within the same industry. It's someone that's maybe gone through it in their past and is willing to invest because they can provide some expertise.
Right. In talking about angels, it would be remiss of me not to mention Gary Slate, who has played a major role as an angel investor within the media and content world. Now everyone's going to be calling Gary Slate because they know he's an angel. When we go higher up the ecosystem in terms of venture capital, so you've got a company, they've got revenue, they've got a good product, like some of the companies that we heard in the previous session. Yep. How do people approach VCs? I mean, how do you get an introduction? How do you find out which one is best for your needs?
So it's like selling. So you need. It's always preferable to have a preferred introduction. So, and it's not that hard to do. You can look at an investor and the companies he's invested in and reach out to one of the founders. Founder to founder, it's very easy to make a connection and build a good rapport and have that founder make the introduction for you. I mean, we will meet with anyone, but obviously if someone says you should meet this guy, I really like him, it's much easier to do it. The bigger the firms, a lot of the later stage firms, so once you reach like 5 to 10 million in revenue, they have hordes of analysts that it's like a call center business. Like they do research, they look at all the trade magazines, they look at all the press releases, and they call companies, have a huge database. I mean, some of them that I know well have over 30,000 companies in their database that they call every year. And once they reach the revenue level and profitability and whatever, then they engage for potential investment.
Right.
So the earlier stage you are, the more personal introduction is valuable. The later stage you are, people come to you.
Right. Salim?
Just to add, I think also another important part just in the ecosystem building, I think it's really important to celebrate our successes, to have stories and examples of companies that have done well, who started with basically maybe a 5 or 10 page PowerPoint presentation and have gone through the entire cycle. I think those are great case studies of how to build a company in this country and how to do well and be successful. We funded a company at my last fund, a company called Radian 6, which we saw in the very early stages. It was 2 entrepreneurs who were very, very passionate about what was happening in the social media space and understanding sort of the core challenges that brands and agencies were struggling with as they were trying to get involved and understand what was happening in the social media space. And us, along with a firm called Summerhill Venture Partners, put in the early seed money with them, and they were based in Fredericton. But they, example of 2 entrepreneurs who had an exciting and very, very grand vision of what was happening in the industry, how big of a solution and how complex of a solution they could develop, and how quickly they could get market share and get customers. And they just recently got acquired by Salesforce.com, and everyone was a winner in that deal. And it's a great example, I think, of entrepreneurs who go through the funding cycle, regardless of geographically where you are. You make it happen. If your vision is strong and if your solution is strong, and if your passion and excitement is strong, you're just going to attract smart people around you. You're going to attract great investors around you, and help you build that momentum. And I think we're going to see many other stories like that over the next few years.
One fact you forgot to let me about was that Radian 6 was it $350 million?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean that's a big deal in Canada.
But they should have waited. Could have been $1 billion. Could have been $1 billion company.
Coulda, shoulda.